London particular is a delicious split pea soup. The name comes from the famous fogs of London back in Dickensian times, which came to be known as London particulars or pea soup fogs. Fogs so thick that you could scarce see your hand in front of your face. Pea soup fog, also known as a pea souper, black fog or killer fog, is a very thick and often yellowish, greenish or blackish fog caused by air pollution that contains soot particulates and the poisonous gas sulfur dioxide. Not just common in Dickens's day, these heavy fogs continued sporadically throughout the ensuing years. In fact, there was a particularly bad incident in 1952 which was called the Great Smog of London, which came to be known as one of the worst air pollution events in the history of the United Kingdom. I think actually fogs such as this were quite prevalent throughout Europe, especially in the colder months when people were using their coal fires. My mother had a photograph of me standing in front of the Eiffel Tower in Paris in 1959. You can just barely see me and only the feet of the tower as the fog is so dense and so thick. I dare say those pea souper fogs were not as near delicious as this fabulous soup, London particular, which had its beginnings at the Simpsons in the Strand restaurant in London. This soup is ribbed stickingly thick and very delicious, and really quite simple to make. My mother always made us lovely pots of pea soup after we had enjoyed a baked ham either for New Year's or Easter. We always had a ham on those special occasions, and the bone was always used to make a delicious soup. Hers was done in the French-Canadian style, however, using whole yellow dried peas. They are not so easy to get these days, and I have never seen them over here. We did so love her soup. She used to make a huge pot of it and we would enjoy it once on the night, with the remainder being frozen for future use. Always whenever any of us, after we had grown up and left home, made the trip home, she would be certain to feed us a supper of this soup and another of her home-baked beans at least once during our stay. I can't speak for anyone else, but for myself I can say that this was something I always looked forward to and enjoyed very much. This is not that soup, but it is just as delicious in a different sort of a way. It's thick and flavorful, and as I said, very simple to make. You do need to begin by soaking the peas overnight, so be prepared. You will need to do this in advance of making the soup, but once you have done that, the soup comes together very quickly. If you are lucky enough to have homemade ham stock in the freezer, use that. I have never seen a ham over here sold on the bone, and so I have never had a ham bone over here to make stock. Instead I relied on ham stock cubes to make my stock. You can also use chicken stock if you wish. Other than the split peas and stock, there is bacon, carrots, celery and onions. Simple. As an homage to my dear sweet mother, I chose to add a bay leaf and some Nova Scotia summer savory. You can leave those out and the soup will still be delicious, but if you have them to hand, I do recommend. You could also use a bit of dried thyme instead of the savory, if you find that impossible to procure. I bring mine back with me from Nova Scotia and keep it in my freezer. It is that precious to me. It takes about an hour and a bit to cook, so not that long really. Once the peas are nice and tender, you then puree half of the soup. I used my immersion blender to do this. Don't know what I would do without it. You can also use a food processor or a regular blender. You then stir the pureed portion of soup back into the pot and reheat the soup gently, seasoning it to taste with salt and plenty of black pepper, ready to be served ladled into heated bowls. Garnished with clippings of crispy bacon and chopped fresh parsley. As always, Todd enjoys his soups with a piece or two of buttered bread or a crusty roll. The North American in me prefers mine with crisp crackers, and I always crumble some of them into the soup. A common practice, I know, but a leftover from my childhood. The heart wants what the heart wants. When I was a child, I would crumble so many crackers into my soup that it became almost pudding-like. I so enjoyed that. Tomato soup was especially good this way, with a knob of butter melted on top. Oh boy, now I am drowning in happy foodie memories. Yum. Ingredients: 300 g dried green split peas, soaked overnight in cold water, 1½ cups. 25 g butter, 2 tablespoons. 4 rashers slices streaky bacon, diced. 1 medium onion, peeled and roughly chopped. 1 medium carrot, peeled and roughly chopped. 2 sticks celery, trimmed and roughly chopped. 1½ liters of ham or chicken stock, 6 cups. 1 bay leaf, broken, optional and my inclusion. ½ tablespoon summer savory, optional and my inclusion. Salt and black pepper to taste. To garnish, a handful of chopped fresh flat leaf parsley, 4 rashers, strips of streaky bacon, grilled until crisp and snipped. Instructions: drain the peas in a colander and rinse. Heat the butter in a large saucepan over medium heat. When it begins to foam, add the bacon and onion. Cook over moderate heat, stirring occasionally, until the onion has softened and the bacon has begun to release its fat. Add the carrot and celery. Continue to cook for a further 5 minutes or so until golden. Add the peas and the stock, along with the bay leaf and savory, if using. Bring to the boil, stirring. Boil rapidly for about 10 minutes, stirring occasionally. Reduce to low, cover and then cook for about an hour. Until the peas are very tender. Remove the bay leaf and discard. Cool the soup slightly and then puree half of the soup in a blender or food processor until smooth. Or use an immersion blender. Return to the saucepan and reheat. Taste and adjust, seasoning with salt and black pepper. Ladle the hot soup into heated bowls, garnishing with parsley and bacon. Serve immediately. Crusty rolls or crackers, my preference, are lovely with this.